G'day YouTube, my name's Lance. Welcome to Bundy Bear's Shed. Well, this little video we're doing today, it's about some secret tubes. Secret tubes in the head of your 23C diesel engine. Now the 23C diesel engine, it's the 4-cylinder diesel that was in a lot of MF35s, FE35s particularly. They were the ones that were hard to start and they didn't have a real good rap, but they're at a stage now where people are still restoring them, they're getting them going well, and if you're part of the vintage tractor scene, well, you'll know all about them. But there's a couple of little problems that they can have to do with the cylinder head, and it's to do with coolant leaking into your engine block. Now, there's a couple of things can happen. One of them is sometimes you have a coolant leak. Now coolant disappears out of your cooling system. It ends up into your engine oil and you can't quite work out where it is. Every time you pull the head off, you have a look, you can't find anything. And I actually have a 23C tractor that I bought off my neighbour Grumpy Dave, and him and a mate of his put an engine kit in. And after almost straight away again, they put an engine kit in because it was getting oil into the, coolant into the oil. So they put an engine kit into the tractor, and almost straight away after leaving it sit for a while, it had a bit of water getting into the engine oil, into the sump. So they stripped it down, had a look what they'd done wrong, couldn't find anything, put it all back together again, still did the same thing. So they presumed it was a head gasket faulty or something, so they got one of the local field service Massey Ferguson blokes in. He put a new head gasket on it, exactly the same. So I think they had the head off 3 or 4 times over time. And in the end, it got into too hard basket. He said, get this thing out of here, I've had enough of it. And I've ended up with it in my shed. So I tested the cooling system, I drained the oil and got my hand up inside to make sure I got any moisture out. I replaced the oil and the oil filter, run it up hot, dropped all the oil, wiped it all out again. And I did that a couple of times until the engine oil was beautifully clean. You got to remember, it just had an engine rebuild, so it hadn't done any work really. And with the water in the and the milky oil, well, you know, things weren't all black and nasty. So I got it going like that. I pumped the radiator pressure up to 20 pounds per square inch, and I run that thing for 4 hours out the front of the shop here, out in front of Bundy Bear's Shed, and couldn't make it play up at all. So anyway, I've parked it up the back. It's a standard model, single clutch and things like that. So I've parked it up the back in my to-do tractor list, and the other day going past, I thought I'll just drop that sump plug and, you know, just see what's going. And originally they were just putting water in it. So once I thought I had it pretty clean and I couldn't find any water getting into the oil, I put green coolant in, a glycol-based coolant. So I run it with that. I couldn't fault the thing. Then anyway, the other day I thought, well, I haven't checked that bung, and it's been sitting there for 12 months, 18 months, a fair while. And I thought I'll just crack that sump plug and see what's there. So I cracked the sump plug. About the first 2 drops were green, then that was it, finished. So there is still a leak somewhere. But what I think it is, and this is why I'm covering this at the moment, is in the cylinder head here, there's a couple of little pipes that can rust through, and that is one of them. I pulled this one out yesterday when I was preparing to do the video. I pulled this one out, and this is a spare head I have, but I'll probably do the head up there as well. It's been serviced, everything's been done to it, so this is just as a side thing. So I'll get the camera up close now. I've done the school teacher bit up here. Now, not a school teacher's elbow, but look, hopefully it explains what's going on. And I have a fix. I have a fix and a way of getting these out of the head and replacing them that works for me. And the whole video was just to share that with you really. So sit tight, I'll hone in on the whiteboard. Okay, I've got a little bit of a diagram here, and I've got my head tipped over, so you can see where these pipes go. There's only two, and you have the main head stud here, the second head stud from the front, and the second head stud from the back is where these are. Now, on the back of the head, it's this fella here and this fella there, the second one in. And they're under the tappet cover. Now, you can see sometimes when people have coolant getting into the engine oil, a lot of these heads had a white metal plug in here. And that's the go-to thing. Everyone just jumps straight into that, which is fair enough. It's a reasonable thing to do. Now, this head here, someone's already knocked the white metal plug out. They've put a hydraulic plug in and probably Loctited it in, I would imagine. Now, these tubes, they can't be got from the top end here. And you can see, well, you need to come in from the bottom end, but one of the symptoms is that if it leaks through, you'll see a little couple of bubbles of coolant coming down, or if you pull your tappet cover off, you can actually see a bubble of water near one of these studs. So I'll turn the head around again and over. So it's not a job that can be done without pulling the cylinder head off. So we'll get up to the board here, and now you can see down the bottom here, from there down, that's the engine block. And you can see the red here, that's your head stud that comes up through this hole. And you can see the black is this surface of the head here, and the black up the top, that's the top head of the surface where your head nuts would go. So what these pipes do, they actually sit in these holes here, and it seals the coolant from the head stud. So when they cast the cylinder heads, they had to have this jacket, this water jacket here for cooling. So the water had good flow around the head. The head is the hottest part of the engine normally. That's right next to where combustion takes place, and the top of the block and around the head. So they look for good flow in through the cylinder head. And so because they had a head stud coming down, they decided to put these two little tubes down into the head here to seal the coolant away from the head studs. So over time, they're mild steel. You can see that one's just a mild steel. Now you can see on mine here, you can see the rusty section in the middle. So you can see the shinier ends. Now the shinier ends are where it's pressed into the housing, the top and the bottom, and the rusty section is this middle section that's in contact with the water jacket. So what happens over time, and yeah, these tractors are getting on a bit, and they're from the late 50s, so they are getting on quite a bit. And if they haven't had coolant all their life, what happens is this rusts out, this little tube rusts out. So what that can do, it can let the coolant come in here and either rust your head stud, or what it does, it comes up and there's a gap here. This is a 7/16 stud in a half inch, this tube is half inch ID. You get a little bubble of coolant up around here, and you'll see, you have a washer and a head nut there, but there's still room for it to go there. I've seen that. So, pardon me. So what this video is about, it's about being aware that this tube is in the cylinder head. Most people don't know. I didn't know for years. And so I imagine a lot of other people, I'm a bit of a tractor nerd, and if I don't know, well, you know, I do this I do this all my life. So yeah, chances are if I don't know, others may not know either. So, and you may all know, just just doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do, I pulled this one out yesterday, and this one is from that hole there. I pulled this one out yesterday. Excuse me for a second. I made some out of stainless steel. So they're the two I made. And hopefully I can get them thumped in there, pressed into the head and sealed up so that for the rest of the life of this engine, as long as that cylinder head is good, we can't have water intrusion that way there. So I'm thinking with the tractor I bought off Grumpy Dave, that Grumpy Dave put the new engine kit in and they did the head many, many times. I didn't even know about this at the time, these tubes. I'm thinking it's a good place to go because there's been quite a few eyes on that tractor. So what I'll do, I'll shift the camera in so you can actually see the head here, and I'll show you what I've done or how I get them out. Now, the couple of things that you may need. Now, I have a 9/16 UNF bolt, and I've run the thread right up it. So I should measure that for you, shouldn't I? Excuse me for a second. So it's a 9/16 UNF bolt, and mine's 3 1/4 inches long. And look, that's just because that was what was in my scrap bin. So, so I have a 9/16 UNF bolt that I run the thread down with a die nut, and then run a nut down. I have a Ferguson wheel nut. Now I think it's a TE20 rear wheel nut from memory, and I just ground that nice and smooth on the end. I have a hardened steel washer. That's about a 5/8 washer, and the idea is with the washer that it fits over the size of the sleeve we're trying to pull. And this here, that's a linkage bush, a lower link Cat 1, Cat 2 bush, and I cut it off to the length I thought I'd need to use the thread on my bolt. So it's purely just as a piece of pipe, as a spacer. And I have a 3/4 UNC nut here because when I got halfway out, I run out of room on the bolt, so I just put another nut there and put the spacer on again, and away we went and got it out. So, pardon me. So what I'm going to do this morning is I've just started the tap in there. So we're going to tap a thread into this tube, into the tube that's in the head, and I'll go through the process of pulling one out just to show you how it's done, and then we'll pop a bit of Loctite on these and bop them in. On the leftover bit of stainless, I just made a little punch that I can pop them in, just because they're down below the surface of the cylinder head a little. I have a little step on the punch here, and that should get the tubes down a fair way. So, all right, I'll shift the camera. I'll get set up to where I can work on here, and I'll try and show you how to fix it. Okay, you can see my shadow coming into here a little bit, but not much we can do. So, okay, I have a tap handle here and a 9/16 UNF tapered tap. This is about the middle tap, the intermediate tap. So, what I like to do here is I just run a 9/16 UNF thread down into the pipe. So it'll end up down into the tube like this, and that thread is for the bolt to go in, so we've got something to grab the pipe with. Go fairly deep, you know, you want it to... I've got it on the bench here sliding around everywhere, but that's all right, just doesn't matter. One hand on a tap wrench, I'll break the bloody thing in a minute. And I'll pop a bit of oil down the hole there. So that's quite a few turns down into the tube. And we have a reasonable thread. Now, with this bolt, I screw this nut up as far as it'll go. Then I'll put the spacer on, and then just the washer to start with, and screw that right down. Just try and get him in the centre if I can. Screw that right down. So we've got a good few threads. We've probably got half an inch of thread or more there. And I'll tighten him up with my 13/16 spanner. This is an old bolt, the spanner's a bit sloppy. And they are quite tight, so I might put the head over this way so when I press down I have something to press against. I'll put a bit of wood, under this edge. Yep, you can still see that. Okay, so now I can get my 1/16 spanner. See that little crack? I think that was just it coming loose. Right, so now my washer isn't looking very true there, so I might just back that off a little bit and have a look, make sure. There's no use trying to pull the tube up through a crooked washer. I'll try and line him all up again. Nice and even. Okay, it feels like it does feel like it's coming. My pipe's way crooked now, but anyway. Well, my spacer's what I should be saying is crooked. Now I'll loosen this off. I just want to check that we're sitting coming through the washer nicely. We're not going to butt up against it and wreck things. Okay, we're just above flush there now, so I think we're okay. But yeah, get quite a few threads into it if you can, just to give yourself a good pulling surface. Oh, man. That's why we don't need the other spanner. Now the reason for the washer is so that this pipe isn't gouging into the head. It's a nice flat surface. Feels like it should be popping out any second now, but probably fight me till the end. And there you go. So there's our pipe. Look, it's very rusty. So if you're doing a cylinder head up, it's certainly something that it can be well worth looking at. So I'll bring the head over now. Put a bit of board under there. So that's the one we just pulled. That's the one I had out yesterday. So I'll go and get a bit of emery tape and we'll try and clean down the holes and make sure there's no rust. Okay, what am I doing here? Well, I've got the bolt and I've got a bit of emery paper around the outside of the bolt, and I'm getting right down and I'm just trying to make sure that the two surfaces that this tube seals on is nice and clean. Both the top and the bottom one. So you can see it's a bit shiny there now. This one here will do the same. Getting right down into that bottom hole. Okay, bit of brake cleaner. And we'll blow it dry. Okay, so we're presuming that's nice and clean. That's all we can do. So these two spaces that I've made, we'll just give them a bit of a tidy up with brake cleaner. And look, the only reason is so I know it's not oily. My fingers aren't oily because I've been playing with bits and pieces. Now you all know I like a big hammer, and I've gone and got the big hammer. I'm going to put a little bit of Loctite retaining compound on these, and the reason I'm putting the retaining compound on is that where it goes down in the bottom there, it's just a precaution really. So if we run it around the bottom of the new pipe, when it goes through this top thread here, it'll be good to go. So there's one in. Now my tubes, I made one thou smaller than the other, and I'll put up on the board shortly the sizes, but it was 0.657 inches and 0.658 were the two sizes that I chose to use, and that's just measuring off the old ones. So I think we're right to go. Okay, so that's down there too. Get any of the extra Loctite off. Now that cylinder head should be right for many, many years to come. Now, I suppose there's something else we should talk about. I'll move the camera up again. Now I believe there's something else we should probably talk about, and I chose to make my pipes out of stainless steel. The original ones were made out of steel, out of what looks to be mild steel of some sort. Now I did think for ease of fitting and ease of everything that these fellas here, the pipes, I could make them out of brass. But look, I got to thinking about it, and I don't know if I'm on the right track here or not, but I'll just go through the reasoning why I chose stainless. And stainless is a very hard material. And what I was wondering about was when you put the tension on the top here, this gap here, if you use, say, aluminium or brass is pretty good, but and you tension your head studs down, would this gap decrease? And I didn't know whether the engineers originally planned on this being a bit of a support for that or not. I don't even know if I'm thinking right with that. It's just something that went through my mind, so I thought I'd share it with you. And so I went stainless steel, so I know that this support here is nice and strong. With it Loctited in, like we have a good half inch or more of thickness on the bottom there. Oh, it'd be easy half an inch. On the bottom there, and with a bit of Loctite retaining compound there and being a press fit in there, you should be able to do the head up here. If any tension does come onto this spacer, it won't move. But look, that's my thinking behind it. Whether it's the correct thinking and it's even something worth worrying about, I just don't know. I'll shift that airline out of the way. It's just right in the road of everything, isn't it? But anyway, that's that's just how it is. So yeah, that's why I went to the stainless. I thought, well, stainless, it'll last a lifetime. I could have just put mild steel. I probably, and I don't know if I can or not, but you could probably go to the hydraulic place and buy some pipe that's really close to size anyway. But this is how I chose to do it. Well, there you go. That's the video on the secret tubes, the secret pipes. No one knows about them. Well, not no one. But look, I hope that's of help. If you're doing up a 23C engine, certainly look at that. I have a TEF 20 with a standard Motor Company 20C engine. Now, I don't know if it has the pipes. I haven't had a chance to have a look. The 20C and the 23C did some things similar, but other things are way off. So I don't know if it has it or not. But if you're doing a TEF 20 tractor with a 20C diesel engine, certainly have a look and see if they've done something the same. I don't know if they have. If you're doing a 23C engine, you're putting all your time and money into this engine and you're getting it all sparkly and shiny and new engine kit and the whole thing. Take time and do those tubes. It would be so disappointing to put all the time and money into it, and with all the expense nowadays doing it, certainly do it. So if you're engine reconditioning for someone or something like that, it's a bum covering measure. You don't want to send an engine home and have trouble like that. So back to the telltale signs, if particularly those two head studs are quite rusty, it could well be those. People just pop a new set of head studs in and away they go. Just be aware of it's the main thing. And yeah, this tractor game, it's not a game of secrets, it's a game of sharing knowledge. So thanks for dropping by. I hope you got something out of this, and yeah, look, we'll catch you next time, mate.